Hello, and welcome to Dealer Forward. This is a video series where we hear from dealers and how they're taking on some of automotive retail's biggest challenges. So today, we're going to be talking about the sales process and how updating your approach now can help maximize customers' lifetime value to the dealership. Okay, so my name is Mark Vickery. I'm an Associate Vice President of Performance Management here at Cox Automotive, and I'm joined today by my friend, Dennis Gingrich, Variable Ops Director at the Niello Company in Sacramento. So welcome to the show, Dennis.
Hey, Mark, thanks. It's great to be here. I appreciate you taking some time to chat with me, and it's good to see you.
Yeah, same. I mean, it feels like I was just in Sacramento with you in your office. Maybe that's because I was.
Yeah, I remember it was a good time. We appreciated you and some of the other teammates there at Cox Automotive coming to spend some time here at the Niello Company. It's always great.
Right on, right on. Well, thank you for doing this. And so before we dive in, why don't you tell everybody a little about yourself and your dealership and your group and, what you do there, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. My name's Dennis Gingrich. As Mark mentioned, I'm the Variable Operations Director here at the Niello Company. We've actually been in business for over 100 years. We actually started in the fixed operations business, and then we, obviously eventually morphed into selling cars. We have 9 rooftops currently. First quarter of next year, we'll welcome our 10th, a new Porsche store, so we're really excited about that. We represent 8 different brands, primarily in the upper segment: BMW, Audi, Porsche, Jag, Land Rover. I started as the finance director here at the Niello Company, and then was given an opportunity to play a larger role in both the sales and marketing arena, which I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's quite an impressive group that you're a part of. So, so listen, let's start off here. From what I hear from my PMs and from dealers, is that we're at a really sort of interesting point in car sales right now. Salespeople, customers, all seem to be in agreement that sales processes could be improved. Our recent study tells us that 8% of today's car buyers are telling us that the next car they buy, they will do the whole process in store. That means 92% of them are going to be taking care of a lot of that process elsewhere. So, and despite that, most dealers just really aren't changing, and I kind of think that's, things are kind of going okay. We're still making money. We're still selling cars. Inventory is better than it was. Maybe there's not the recession that we anticipated, earlier this year. But I think the hesitation has, to do with something else. I think it's maybe a fear of change. We're not very good at change in the car business, so I just think that putting a widget on your website that enables digital retailing isn't good enough. So tell me about some of the recent changes to the sales process you guys are implementing and how you pulled it off.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. Just adding a widget on a website or, wherever that may be is definitely not the answer. Obviously, widget and software is a necessary thing in our industry. But, at the end of the day, as dealers, we need to evolve and we need to meet the customer where they want to be. Customers, whether they just want to, take care of some of that process at home or wherever they may be. And that way, when they come into the dealership, they're spending as little time there as possible picking up their car. I think it's our responsibility, at the Niello Company, but also as the industry to be able to meet those customers where they want to be. I mean, there's a lot of, I would call them disruptors. I've heard the term, I think from a member of your team, those new form retailers, and they're starting to eat up some of the market share. I mean, you look at that, one of them, I think they've got some vending machines, Carvana. In 2019, they sold roughly 178,000 cars. And, in 2022, they went up to 412. I mean, that's a significant increase. And I think that speaks to what the customers want. They want to be able to buy the car. They want that Amazon experience. And we've got to do that. And, part of it is a widget or software. But I think the next piece is making sure we're spending quality time with the human beings behind the widget. That's our teammates here at the Niello Company. That's a salesperson, sales manager, finance manager, to make sure that they understand what that looks like and how their role is going to evolve a little bit to be a part of that online process.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And you touched on the customer experience. I think you said meet the customer where they are, and of course that's the whole thing, right? So if you think about the customer experience, sort of from the standpoint of building a lifetime relationship with the customer, what kind of updates to your sort of historical processes are you making with a longer term value with that customer in mind?
I think, going back, just, enabling the customer to transact how they want to transact, is definitely part of it. But I think that something that's really gone downhill, and I think all of us can have seen this in some way, shape, or form, is, pre-COVID and then rolling through this COVID era. I think a lot of us have experienced just a dip in overall customer service, whether we're going to a restaurant, maybe it's just, heck, it could be going to an amusement park, whatever the case may be, the level of customer service isn't what it was pre-COVID. And I know internally, one of the things we're focusing on is really leaning into, the team that actually makes it happen, salespeople, sales managers, and make sure that they're getting better at communication and, all the tools that we have available to facilitate communication so it can be more efficient for the customer. Because, at the end of the day, if the customer has a great experience, they're going to tell their friends and family about us. They're going to come back and see us in our fixed operations department. So I think, regardless of all the technology that we have at our fingertips to facilitate a transaction online, whether it be 100% online or part of it, at the end of the day, it all boils down to human capital and make sure they can communicate at a high level and deliver that great customer experience. And I think that's just what keeps the wheel turning.
Yeah, it's a really strong point. I mean, we sometimes lose sight of our employees, and we think about the customer, and it's our people that do the work. So that's really I think really insightful and strong for you to think about that. So as we approach the end of the year, where, believe it or not, another year is almost in the books. What kind of initiatives are on the horizon for the Niello Company?
Well, we're really focused on our online buying platform that we partnered with you guys at Cox Automotive to make sure that's a success. We're learning every month. We get a little bit better, more efficient. We're focused on that, but from the broader picture, again, really focusing on our, giving our people the tools and the knowledge and the coaching just to be better professionals. Because I think some of us, and you talked about it at the start of this conversation, is last few years, everything's been good. We've been making money. And, when everything's good, it's there's really not motivation to make a change. So I think for us, we just want to partner with our employees to make them the best professionals they can be. Because if they're great professionals, the company's going to do just fine. And then they're going to have a great, fulfilling life outside the Niello Company, which is, what we're all here for, right? We don't live. What do we want to do? We want to work to live, not live to work. And that's what we want.
Right on, man. And
yeah.
so something about family is pretty important too, right? So,
yep.
So, okay, we're about wrapped up here, but let's close with any maybe advice you might share with our managers and leaders that are listening to the program that may be thinking about making some changes like the ones we talked about today.
Yeah, well, I think as you're looking at your overall sales process and making some adjustments to better meet the customer where they want to be, we got to keep in mind that at the end of the day, it's our staff that ultimately is going to be working with the tool. They need to understand what tool they're using. And I think that the biggest thing I've learned is when you're going through a demo, I've never sat through a bad demo, Mark. Every demo I've ever seen has been great. But I think it's really important to lean into the end users at your store, those salespeople that have influence amongst your teams, those sales managers that are really engaged, and bring them into those conversations as you're making decisions for your dealership. Because at the end of the day, if the end user is bought in, whatever changes you make are more likely to bring success. So, in my mind, Mark, you got a great team of performance managers over at Cox Automotive. We're grateful for every last one of them we work with on a daily basis. And I would encourage you guys to invite those performance managers onto those demos, because that's who's going to be doing the work day in and day out. It's the sales people, managers, and of course the performance managers on your team, Mark, which do a great job. So lean into the people, let them weigh in, and if they weigh in, they'll buy in, and you'll find success.
I'm glad you brought that up. And we were gonna. This was our closing comment, but I want to just reiterate what you said. I still remember when we sold your group, Vin Solutions, and how you had our sales team demo your entire team, salespeople, everybody, sat through the demo before they bought it, before you bought it. And I've told so many dealers about what a great practice that is, to get kind of everybody in the canoe before you make the change. And it allows for maybe a little smoother adoption of the new software. So, you definitely you practice what you preach. So I admire that.
Well, I appreciate that, Mark. And I really, I think it serves two purposes. Even though you're never going to get everyone to agree, if they felt heard and, they had to say, I think you're going to have more success. And then plus, and I say this mostly jokingly, if it doesn't work, I can always say, well, you guys chose this thing. So, of course, we're all in it together, win, lose, or draw, but it is definitely good to have the key players involved, because it gives them some fulfillment and buy-in on what we're all trying to accomplish.
Right on. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us, Dennis. Appreciate your friendship and your group and your leadership, and I hope you have a great finish to the month.
Yeah, appreciate it. Likewise, Mark.